What's up, guys? It's your boy Hacky Smack coming at you with a video. This is my official face reveal, so I appreciate you checking it out. I want to talk to you about Pokemon Legends ZA and why I'm not excited about these games at all. And this isn't coming from a place of hate. I grew up playing Pokemon on the original Game Boy. Still got my Game Boy right here. And I played games like Gold and Silver and Red and Blue. These were the games that I grew up with. And back then, Pokemon felt like an actual epic grand adventure. It was exciting. And it just felt big and real. Pause that. Nowadays, we're getting games like Scarlet and Violet, Diamond and Pearl, and Legends Arceus. These games continue to get worse and worse with every entry. The graphics are poor, the story is typically not that great, or it's not told in a great way. It's just lazy art that's selling solely because of the name Pokemon. So in this particular video, we're going to talk about 6 reasons why Pokemon Legends ZA is not exciting me. For one, the elephant in the room, the graphics look like shit in these games. They're not good looking games. I mean, take a look right here. Does this look like a quality game from 2025 that you would expect? Does this look like the first Pokemon experience that you want to have on your brand new Switch 2? Well, it shouldn't. The graphics look poor. The art style looks poor. These are not good looking games. There's nothing you can say to convince me of it. We've seen actual quality looking Switch games. We've seen other IPs that are growing. Imagine if Rockstar Games made the next Pokemon game instead of Game Freak, the lazy developers that don't want to put any effort into it. You would actually have the Pokemon game that we've all wanted to have if you had a developer like Rockstar behind it. The graphics on this game doesn't look good whatsoever. It's blurry, it's gross, and even if it wasn't, the actual art style doesn't look good. You know it doesn't look good. You're lying to yourself. Number 2. These guys chose greed over quality because they put the games on the Switch 1. If they cared about the quality, they would have eliminated the Switch 1 from their development and focused solely on the power of the Switch 2 to produce a good looking, good running, more flushed out game. Instead, they realized there's a lot of Switch 1s out in the wild. I think it's like 140 million. They can cater to that audience if all these people bought the game. So they thought, hey, we'll just make more sales by putting it on the Switch 1. Instead of eliminating the Switch 1 and focusing on the Switch 2 for its power, they chose money and greed over quality. That's not a good mindset when they're coming into a game. It's not like they're short on money. Pokemon is like the biggest media franchise. They're not short on money. They definitely did not need to do that. They chose to do that. Number 3, why exactly did they choose Chikorita Totodile but not Cyndaquil? So they basically imported the starters from the Johto region, the Gold and Silver games originally. They brought those starters over except for Cyndaquil. So why is that exactly? Why did Cyndaquil not beat the allegations? What exactly did he do? Why was he cut out? That's Pokemon racism right there. That's the best way to describe it. That's Pokemon racism. If you're going to import Chikorita and Totodile and the starters from the Johto games, you need to also bring Cyndaquil along. You can add a 4th one like Tepig, which would still be weird. Doesn't matter how you slice it. It was a weird decision. And for people that like Cyndaquil, which were most of the people that were playing the Johto games, they've now been screwed out of their starter. Number 4, the price. The way these games look does not warrant a $79 price tag Canadian or a $60 price tag American USD. It just doesn't. Spin it any which way you want. These games are not worth that type of money. At best, these games are $39.99 at the very, very best. And that's even being generous and ambitious with it. So they're ripping you off. They're selling you a game that's not worth that type of money for that type of money. So you're telling me I can buy GTA 6, presumably for $79, or I can buy Pokemon Legends ZA One of these is a ripoff. One of these is a ripoff, and that's the Pokemon games. They're not worth $79. Number 5. In my opinion, it shows Nintendo isn't actually taking the Switch 2 very seriously right out of the gate, because if they were, they would have told Game Freak, we can't have this subpar Pokemon game that's on the Switch 1 also be on the Switch 2, because we want you to showcase the power of the Switch 2. That should have been Nintendo's memo to Game Freak. I understand they don't fully control Game Freak, but they could have at least said that, hey, you know, let's focus this Pokemon game. Let's make up for the downfalls of the previous Pokemon titles, Scarlet, Legends, Brilliant Diamond, all that garbage. And let's focus our effort and make this a really standout Pokemon title for the Switch 2. Instead, they also chose greed over quality, and they told Game Freak, it's fine. Go ahead and make these games for the Switch 1 and the Switch 2, therefore sacrificing the performance, quality, and the overall game as a whole. Like the mechanics, it's not going to be a fleshed out experience. So that, in my opinion, shows Nintendo is not taking their Switch 2 seriously. The other thing is, even for number 5, even if the graphics or the art style were good looking or were nice on the eyes or whatever, you're still going to have frame rate drops. You're still going to be playing these games in slow motion. I don't know about you guys, but I'm personally just sick and tired of playing Pokemon in slow motion. So it's bad enough the graphics are blurry, but now you're taking a FPS hit, frames per second hit. You're not getting smooth, clean visuals. You're playing in slow motion. I think in Legends or in Scarlet, one of those previous Pokemon games you were getting, I think it was Scarlet, you were getting games that were run at certain moments in the game where you were dipping down to 15 FPS if you were playing like co-op, online co-op, you had a friend on with you, and you guys are just traveling in slow motion in a blurry world. So even if you had good quality art style, which you don't, you're still being punished in the FPS section. You're not getting proper frames per second. These games should be running at 60 frames. That's not asking too much. These games should be running at 60 frames per second, period. Number 6, not every single Pokemon will be in the game. So even if you do overlook the price, you do overlook the graphics, you do overlook the frame rate, you overlook all these shortcomings, and you agree to have this subpar, gross Pokemon experience as your first Pokemon experience on your nice new Switch 2, and you try to get into the games, you're not getting all 1,000 plus Pokemon in the game. With how bad these games run and how unflushed they are, they could have at the very least put all Pokemon in the game, every single one. So if you're a big old Butterfree fan, you're not going to see Butterfree. For example, I don't know if that's one of the Pokemon that are included or excluded, but you get my point. If you're a Butterfree fan, if you're a Chimchar fan, whatever it may be, you go looking for that Pokemon and it's nowhere to be seen. So this is something that they've also decided to do, which is why I'm personally not excited for Pokemon Legends. Number 7, and my final point for this video, is don't forget that it's guaranteed that Game Freak will come around, you know, a year from now down the road, and they're going to sell you some subpar DLC like we've seen with previous Pokemon games. But they come around later and they tell you, this is the DLC, which is just essentially another part of the map that should have been there originally. They added it in and they ask you to pay them to have access to it, to get a tiny little side quest, a little small story on the side, and to just dick around a little more in that grainy, slow motion, blurry looking world. So not only have you paid the original $79 or $60 USD, but now you're also paying to have that extra bit of the map that they purposefully guaranteed at the beginning of the development cycle decided this will be put behind a paywall. We'll make them pay for it. That to me is a gross practice. I'm not about that. I'm not excited for Pokemon Legends EA, and those are my reasons why. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Appreciate you, bro. If you can, drop a like, hit the subscribe button. We're at 20K subscribers. That's absolutely insane. Thank you guys for that. Peace.